So ask yourself, when it comes to hustle reward ratio, where are you investing your time? I really want you to audit your time and look at it and ask yourself, am I chasing opportunity? And is that opportunity worthy of my time? Because here's the thing. It is much easier to go after 10x than it is for 2x because there's less competition.
Welcome to the Contrarian Capitalist Podcast, the ultimate destination for accredited investors and entrepreneurs seeking alternative wealth-building strategies. Discover how to fast-track your journey to wealth and time freedom by thinking outside the box. If you're ready to join the ranks of the Contrarian Capitalists and learn the most effective ways to reach your financial goals faster, you're in the right place. Let's get started with today's episode of the Contrarian Capitalist Podcast.
Thank you once again for joining an episode of the Contrarian Capitalist Podcast. I'm your host and your favorite silverback, Sylvania Harrod. And on today's episode, we're going to talk about one of my favorite measurements when it comes to whether I'm going to invest my time into something. And it's what I refer to as the hustle to reward ratio. So what is the hustle to reward ratio and how does it work? Well, remember that our jobs as accredited investors is be able to understand and move ourselves from the space of being a business owner, being an employee, being self-employed, as Robert Kiyosaki talks about in his cash flow quadrant, to moving to the space of I, which is an investor. So the purpose of being an investor is that we have to be able to look at assets objectively. And so we have to look at them objectively because what happens is naturally as human beings, we have emotion that is involved in things. And so as we go through those different moments, you're going to have different things that are going to show up in life. Because I'll give you a prime example. Like if you happen to be a person that's extremely passionate about cars like myself, you can't be objective about cars. It's just like, that's a passion of yours. That's something you loved as a child. So you're actually going to be non-objective for that. So the reality is I don't consider a car an asset unless you're doing like a collection and you're going to have a collector thing. But me knowing myself personally, I don't want to collect crap. I want to drive things. I want to have the experience. I want to have the smiles per gallon with it. So that's also the reason why, like, I don't consider those investments. So I'm going to park X amount of dollars just to go ahead and do that because it's dumb and stupid and I love it. But if I'm taking other people's money to be able to do things, then I need to be objective. And I need to be at a place where I'm looking at how I can go through and ensure that I can return capital back to my investors. That's my job in wealth management, is to ensure that my investors are good. So in that place, I'll be an objective. What I find is a struggle for individuals who are used to being in those other three quadrants at a certain period of time, because you've been conditioned to be just solely an operator. And an operator, a lot of time, is an opportunist, because this is why they call it like entrepreneurial ADHD, is that you're going to go ahead and you're going to look at it and be like, hey, guess what? Bitcoin is up. I need to buy a bunch of Bitcoin and I need to make sure I put all my money into Bitcoin that happens to be there. Yeah, because that's the flavor of the week. I want you to look at those things. You're going to look at it and be like, oh, AI is taking off. I need to take my money and go look at stocks that are going to be AI based because it's an opportunity. If you're objective, you can look at it and say, all right, cool, great. It's great that those things are taking off. That means the economy's good. It doesn't mean you actually have to park your money there and just shift your different things or change your career or change your job or create an entity of what you're looking to do to be able to make that happen. Because what you may realize is that these things have windows, they have cycles, they're cyclical to be able to be there. So unless like cryptocurrency becomes your jam, you've got to ask yourself this one question. What is the hustle to reward ratio for doing that item? Because to me, the most precious and the most valuable asset in the history of mankind is time. You can't create more of it. It's finite. You don't know when you run out of it. So if I can't create it, I can't destroy it, I can't waste it, then how valuable is that asset? Because an asset's value is based upon we can call supply and demand. Like if you live in a neighborhood that houses don't go up for sale, the value of that house is going to be probably extremely high when one does go up for sale because there's such limited supply. But if you're going to a new home community where there's tons of them being built, well then the value is not going to be nowhere near as great as the one where ones never really go for sale. We'll just look at time the same way. The opportunity may be there. You may be able to create a new market and create a new industry, but just because you can doesn't mean you should. So let me give you an example. I was advising a company earlier this week, and they were talking about like, oh, there's just so much opportunity to be able to be there. I go, okay, great. Have you mastered your current market that you're in? What's the total market share that you can be able to have? What percentage of market share do you currently own? And they go, oh, we're not there, but we're opening up in 4 different markets. And I instantly hear that as an investor, like, you have distributed focus, which means if I take a light bulb and I take like 7 light bulbs and I'm shining them in all different directions, am I ever going to be able to see what's directly in front of me? Nope. But if I take all 7 of those and then move them towards here to where it's focused directly at you, how bright is my target going to be? Extremely. That's the difference. So you got to ask yourself this question: if time is the most precious asset in the world, well, then spend it doing things that have meaning to you. Because I don't believe that like the degree in certain elements is going to make a big difference for you. If you were like, hey, I want to go ahead, like some of the best people I know have fundamentally different degrees than you would ever imagine. They're art majors. Why? Because in high finance, you have to have critical thinking skills. You have to see things outside the box, and you have to be able to like create predictions of what happens to be there. Warren Buffett talks about this all the time. He says, tell me how many economists have made substantial wealth. But I can show you some salespeople who have. So think about that, for example, right? So if salespeople can be able to do that, that's all cupcakes and rainbows. So ask yourself, when it comes to hustle reward ratio, where are you investing your time? I really want you to audit your time and look at it and ask yourself, am I chasing opportunity? And is that opportunity worthy of my time? Because here's the thing. It is much easier to go after 10x than it is for 2x because there's less competition. So if you go ahead and you say, hey, my desire is I want to make $10 million this year, and you've never made over 500,000, whatever you are used to doing, you got to do something completely different. Because money is nothing more than a value transfer between 2 parties. It's solving problems. It's why if you look at something like right now, there's a baseball player named Juan Soto. And I can always tell what somebody's affluence is based upon the comments they make about that particular baseball player. And they're going to go and be like, why in the world was somebody going to give him $500 million? Don't teachers and doctors and police officers have way more important jobs than them? And then I'll show you math. The average baseball stadium that he attends has 30,000 people that attend it 162 times per year. I don't even have to do the math for you to be able to tell you, like, damn, that's a lot of people that are coming there, right? It's probably somewhere around the lines of like 40 million people that watch them. That's not even including any of the live broadcasts, right? Maybe 3 million people, right? Like there's 33,000, blah, 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 like 36,000 times 10 times 100. That's a million to be able to be there. So you carry a zero, you still get millions upon millions upon millions of people that are watching him. They were just in the World Series, averaging 5 million streams a day for that, over 5 games. So you had tens of millions of people who were watching him. And that means that there's tens of millions of people that are watching. Think about how much money the advertisers can make based upon showcasing that. Your teacher is going to teach maximum a couple hundred people a year. Where is the value exchange? The value is very high, but you're serving it to low-cost individuals, which are students. Whereas Juan Soto is serving tens of millions of adults who actually do have capital. So who has the greater value transfer? I know it's just a game, but live sports are the only way that linear television is surviving. They're still the highest rated venues that happen to be there is live sports. And it will be. That's the difference of value transfer. So when you look at the hustle to reward hustle to reward ratio, you have to ask yourself, it's going to take me the same amount of time to think small that it's going to take me to think big. The time's going to pass anyway. So my desire for you fellow contrarians is to actually aim bigger than what you think. You know, like shoot sort of stars, worst case you land on the moon. Same thing. So what you do is you shoot for that 10 million because you have to sit back and be like, damn, I'm actually going to do that. And then here's what's going to end up happening for those select few of us that choose to go down that desire. You're going to hit like 3 million and be like, damn. Instead of it taking me, because if you think about it, if you're making $500,000 a year to get to 3 million, it's going to take you 6 years of your life. So you got 6 years you're going to spend it anyway, going through that process. And you're going to realize you're going to take 6 years worth of income and turn it into 12 months. And you go, oh, damn. How small have I been thinking? I wonder what else is the value transfer I can be able to do to go through that. Because every different pinnacle is going to have different outcomes. Who are you serving? You got to ask yourself, I got to solve a $10 million problem for somebody that's big enough that I get 1/3 of that pie. I'm solving a 10 million, like I want to make $10 million, I probably got to solve a 50 million problem for somebody. And so on and so forth. We are paid in direct relation to the size of the problem we solve. Solve bigger problems. You solve rich people problems, you're going to get rich people commissions. You solve broke people problems, you're going to get broke people commissions. That's the way the value transfer works. So I don't know about you, but I would much rather get paid way more for my time, which is how I determine the hustle to reward ratio. That allows me the opportunity to figure out exactly where I should spend my time. So this is what ends up happening. Once you realize you've been solving like poor people's problems, and I say this not in a matter of disrespect, I just said it in a matter of like objectiveness. So you solve poor people problems, you solve rich people problems. Well, once you start doing that, you're going to start delineating and realizing, like, because you're investing your time. Okay, that asset is actually not worthy of my time. I may want to refer somebody else to take care of that asset, and I get a small percentage, but I just know that's coming in as mailbox money. But my 80% of the time, I want to be spending it doing things that are going to drive the level of revenue that I actually need to get me. So maybe you do, but you just flip the axle of, after you audit your time, where am I actually spending it? And being like, I need to spend 80% of my time doing stuff that's going to move the needle for me. And then the other 20% consider like charitable contributions. Set it up, structure, get what you need to be able to do, plug somebody else in. That's a great operator that wants to learn those things, and then get back to work. And you'll realize that things will become a little bit easier because now you're starting to see how the world of nonlinear actually works. And you're like, oh, damn. Rich people, so when I say rich, I mean like really wealthy people. They don't have more time than the rest of us. They just know they just know exactly what to say no to when it comes to their time because of the hustle to reward ratio. So you're asking, how can you be able to use this, whether you're in business or whether you're just a accredited investor entrepreneur? That's basically the same thing. I don't know why I say those two terms, but it is what it is. Ask yourself, based upon what your desires are and what your goals are, how am I spending my time? And is the time I'm spending directly in relation to the outcomes I'm looking to have? Because some people prescribe to the world of just being busy. But I don't know about you. I don't want to be busy. I want to be efficient. Busy keeps you distracted, keeps you running the rat race, keeps you in the world of black and white. Efficient, you can take one day and make more in 1 year. than you've ever done before. I'd much rather pick efficient every day of the week. So audit your calendar, see where you're spending your time, and ask yourself, as I'm being objective, is all of these activities necessary? Or am I just doing it because I'm just used to doing it? As always, you can find me on all social media platforms at Sylvania Harrod. I'm here to respond to the community. As people have questions and things pop up and things to be there you need, you can even write me and say, hey, look, I want you to talk about this particular topic and how we view it. And I'll go through the process and map it out for you. I'm here for the community, here to serve you, fellow contrarians. Have a great week, and cheers, everybody.